Bye. Pass it to you. So my next one, we need to sync up and get this done. Maybe have this agenda. Maybe we get onboarding sorted out in October itself. And I don't really have any distractions for today. Pass it on to Jinsi.
Hello, Janaisi. Welcome to the Communitas Working Group call. Bye we pass on you for intentions and distractions. Anything that you are distracted by or any intention that you have for this call. If you're talking, Janaisi, you are muted. There you go.
Sorry, yes. Well, I'm here to observe what you have done so far. I think that you're doing a great job here. And my distraction, it could be like I'm writing something to send right now, so maybe it's that my distraction so far here. I pass it to, I don't know, the next one.
M is the last one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
My intentions is also to move this forward and take our next steps. And my distractions is recording this and the very delicate balance of not checking DMs and all the other stuff you want to do when you're on Discord. And I'll pass back to you, Eduardo.
Thank you. So we will start with the update on the onboarding journey. Oh, there you go, Libby. How you doing? Do you want to briefly do intentions and distractions?
Sure. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I'm a bit frustrated that this girl didn't come to the call we had scheduled. So that's not the best look on an onboarding experience. But yeah, intentions just to follow along with the discussions we've been having. And I was hoping to have something more to offer, but I guess this is already a good point of how committed we are to the things we set up to do.
Thank you, Libby. Does my screen it's showing, or it's because it's for me it shows loading? Yeah, correct. Then I'm not.
Yeah, loading.
So I will share my screen and just briefly to update what we did on the last workshop and a few conversations that we had with MS. I don't know, Tam, if you want to do a brief summary of what was taught on the last workshop session. I think you're better explaining it than me. If you want to take it out.
Are you opening a document for that?
Yes. I'm opening the document for the meeting notes of the last session.
Let me see, because I don't 100% remember. Hold on. Is that in the agenda?
Yes, it's in the agenda.
Okay. And you want me to give an update on the discussions around the onboard?
The last session. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. What did we talk about? If we look at this document, for some reason I'm told we talked about.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what we talked about. Wasn't it just Friday?
It's okay. So basically,
we talked about we talked a little bit about the flow and the survey, but I don't know that there's anything specific that I need to pull out of this. Actually, I'm looking at the documents, just overwhelming. So, I think that MS was the one who captured the notes. I don't
Yes.
think they're in here.
Yes, so we did commitments. We basically went through the documentation and that LB and MS prepared. And then as a final conclusion, we were like, okay, so how do we tackle this and what will be our next steps? In this session, basically, we decided to continue the visualization and for the next steps. We to grade the visualization that also MS prepared, and then create the content for every steps of the workflow. So the following thing that happened was that then LB took on an update for the visualization, which is on page 4 of the document that I share on the agenda, which is this one. It's a Miro board. So I don't know, MS, LB, if you wanna explain the document, the update that you do this.
Yeah, after our little working group, I just kind of took what we'd talked about and some of my own like thoughts and visions and created this super rough draft. I got kicked out of the stream. There we go. Yeah, and so I just kind of created this little like, you show up in the Discord, you like join the invite, right? Then you move on to the rules channel, you agree to the code of conduct. Then you like would have a choice. This is kind of like my ideal version of an MVP, and I made a lot of assumptions about what was possible with the bots. We've had some conversations since that maybe makes this a little bit obsolete, but after agreeing to the code of conduct, you'd have those 3 channels: the rules, the your guide, and the verify channel. And then if you're experienced with Discord, you don't need any guides, you just want to like get to the Discord, then you can go through the verification process. That's that little like flow on the right-hand side. If you're a little bit newer and maybe you want some resources, or maybe that's why you're here, less to interact, more to like get resources, you go up just a little bit for me, Eduardo. Then you would go to the Your Guide channel. This is kind of synonymous with the survey that goes into the direct messages right now. And then my ideal vision, however it happens, would be that you would be prompted to fill out the survey in order to get better resources. So it would say something along the lines of like, hey, tell us more about you so that we can help you out. You'd say things like, how much time do you want to contribute? Like you would indicate like what your newcomer persona is, et cetera. And then it would give you kind of this like specialized like grouping of resources based on your responses to the survey. And then simultaneously, as it happens right now, if you fill out the survey, then your information goes into the orientation data channel here on our Discord. And that's something that like onboarders can see. And so if we were to build out a team of maybe say 5 people, including Eduardo, who are just like, yeah, we're the guides, we're the welcomers, we're the buddies, we're the people who are helping people out, and that survey goes into the orientation data channel, then those people could look through that channel and say like, oh, here's a person I want to help. Put a little emoji on it, and then that kind of like signifies like, hey, I'm reaching out to this person. So you're kind of very low key way of keeping track. And then they can reach out to the person. They know that they've already received like a specialized like chunk of resources. They can help kind of like fill in any gaps. And support the newcomer as they come into the space and like kind of help them out simultaneously as with like receiving and entering into this Discord.
So the part that I just want to ask you a few questions is the part that says this is also this section that relates to source cred. Can you develop a little bit more about that, because I didn't understand since Libby is here also.
So I come from source cred. That's like my home base, the crib of Web3 for me. And I know that from watching one of the like meeting recordings for the rewards systems group that maybe we're not using source cred that like in the way that I'm envisioning, or the way that like we use it in many other communities. But it's possible to send cred via emojis. So like when you like put an emoji on something, it sends cred to the person who like wrote that message. You could also set the weight so that for a specific channel, like the orientation data channel, let's say that every time you put an emoji on one of these like survey responses, it just automatically sends you a little bit of cred. That like bumps your reputation score because you're showing up to do the labor, you know? We'd want to put in more things like how do you make sure that they did a good job and et cetera, but that would be like a super, super baseline way. And then maybe if multiple people like reached out to the same person who are supporting them like in tandem, then both of them put emojis on there. And not only does it like track who was responding, you know, it tracks who got responded to, but it also flows a little bit of cred to the people who are doing that guide labor.
Does anyone has any question for this graphic before we continue? Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Just a quick question for LB. That is really cool. I love that. Is there a way to, you know, for a bot to kind of go through the server and look for messages or people who haven't had emojis appended to them, so that you can kind of catch people who've been left out?
Great question. I don't know anything about bots. I don't know if there's anybody else in the room who has more information about how possible that is.
I just think that's really cool. That flow that you just described is
I know that. Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you. So we could do that with a bot, but looking at how we're implementing SourceGrid, we probably have. I'm not 100% sure, but we might not have like SourceGrid that runs in normal channels in Discord at least. It's still up in the air. I don't know what exactly we're going to be doing. But yeah, a bot can check script through the channel and see like if someone tried to get an emoji or something like that. That can be done.
Yeah, it all depends on how, with the cred stuff, how like the reward system crew decides that things are going to play out for the Discord and source cred. And then I also know that I heard that it's possible that we're moving off of this orientation data channel method into something else. But I think that just, you know, this is so easy to implement. All you have to do is tell other guides that that's how we're doing it right now. And then once you change to something else, it's like there's already kind of a precedent set for how you engage and track and make sure that people are getting caught.
Correct. Yes, Van, you want to say something?
Yeah, so regarding the change is probably going to be, this is going to be shifted to a Notion board, which would be like a Kanban board. So it's easier to track data because the problem with the channel is that most of the data in there would get lost. And, you know, after a point in time, you don't scroll up that far that you don't even notice that can happen. So this would actually go to a Kanban board. And then we'll do automations with that board. That's the plan.
So the next thing that happened is that you can LB and by we I think have this conversation about having the channel for survey or not. Do you wanna bring this to the attention, Tam? This point that you were making on the working group text channel.
Sure. Well, I wrote about it in the document around the survey being it's a DM right now, and in order to make it a channel, there's some development and thinking that has to go into it. I was just questioning whether what we have is good enough. You know, it's a survey, so more than 50% of the people aren't going to fill it. You know, we should set our expectations right now that we're not going to get, 90% of people filling out a survey. I don't know how many times you guys have ignored surveys today, but I could probably count on one hand how many times I've just like, no thanks to those and exited out. So I feel like if we have something that works now as a DM, I'm really keen to do a really minimal viable, like use what we have, do the best we can, and then look at future iterations. So I think it's cool that it would be on a channel, but I also think it's probably not worth the time to put into it. That was my feeling. LBS, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that since it was your proposal.
Yeah, When it comes to bots, like that's kind of my biggest blind spot. I'm not a developer at all, and so I just make a lot of assumptions and kind of guesses around what would be possible. From what I've learned so far from Tam and Vi, like jumping in, which was super helpful in the channel. It sounds like making your guide channel that's like specific to every newcomer that like will do all of the stuff in channel. It sounds way too much, too hard, too like impossible. I think the thing that I was trying to solve for is just that it can be really disorienting to like receive that survey. Like I know it was for me when I first joined, and then when I like joined the test server, I again was like, oh my god, what's happening? And so I just imagine that there's probably like a subset of newcomers who are also having that experience who are like not engaging with the survey because of that. And you know, this is a great like example of selective accessibility. We could say like, hey, newcomers who are not like good enough at using Discord to be able to parse the fact that they're getting a DM and they're in a new server, maybe they don't really belong here, or maybe we don't really want them here. You know, it's easy to say like we want everybody to join all the time forever. But sometimes groups like want to have some like selective accessibility to kind of weed out people who are going to be more or less ready for the server. But if we say like, hey, actually, people who are new to Discord, we don't want that to be a barrier at all, then it might be something that we want to solve for.
I also don't think it means people can't join the server. They'll join the server, they just don't fill the survey. And then the second thing is maybe they come back to the survey and the next time they log in and they see in their DMs there's a survey. Like I just think it doesn't have to happen like immediately, and it'll sit there and wait for them. And then, you know, MS sort of proposed this idea of like having this like day 0 check-in, that first survey, you know, day 14, day 30, so something like that too. So we can actually look at this one point as like not the only time we can actually ask them for information, but like one of 3 maybe or touch points to ask them for information. So I think it actually fits in nicely to have the DMs. And it's done. We have it. It's working. That's what I like most about it, is that we could do it like it's happening now.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I also really like the summary that Bye posted on the Communitas TEC channel. This for me is the easiest way to understand it, the flow in a text way, which is basically drop down verification, and then you have you after verification you go to the guide channel where you have the option of the 4 questions that we were talking about, which are what is the TEC, how I can contribute, how this guide that it drops you into that channel, and then you will have the question for the survey sent to you via DM. So I don't think that, I mean, that's a lot of information for people, and that should be enough. If they decide to skip that channel as soon as they arrive, if they decide to skip the private message, I mean, what else do you want from us, you know? And I think we are doing, if we make a good content on the guide, the channel guide, it should be enough for people, at least to get a kind of a overall vision of what's going on. We cannot, you know, be there all the time. So I think we are doing the double checking for people. You know, we are asking them privately with this bot, and we are also giving them a guide. So I think that's way better than what we have right now. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else. Yes, bye.
So one thing that with regard to perform, I've been thinking about is maybe we should probably switch to a polling solution and have a web form instead. That like eliminates having to fill the form on Discord or through a channel or through a DM. It just changes the conversation to really giving them a link. They open that link and they fill a simple HTTP form, which I guess can be more accessible.
I like the practicity of the DM and answering in the DM. I think that the less steps we have to give extra to someone to feel like if you make me go to a link or just like, you know, I will try to keep it on the DMs, and if people feel it good, if not, well, they miss it. But it's less steps for me. I don't know what anyone else wants to comment on that before we continue. 5,
Same. I tend to like to keep it in Discord as well.
All right.
I think for a larger survey, a type form might make sense, but this is supposed to be like take someone 2 minutes to do it. This should be like really, really lightweight.
Yeah. All right. So we will have a session. MS, his birthday was on Saturday. You can go and DM him happy birthday, and then he comes back on Wednesday. So on Wednesday we have a session for finishing the content. So this part is open for contribution. We had lined up the sections that we need to, which I now don't remember. Oh, here. We go down to here. Yes. So we need to fill this content. More about TEC, more about working groups, more about Discord channels, and then we have to add the other one, which is proposals or contributions. So if you can go to this document and assign yourself if you want to work on any of these 3 parts. What we can do is that you get the information out of the Gitbook and then put it in the document if you want to tone it down or make it short or you feel. My only comment will be that don't make it so long that it's bigger than the screen from the Discord, that people doesn't have to scroll up to see the text. Consider the fact that there will be already a menu displayed, and then there will be as when people click on the button, they will display the information. So it shouldn't be that long, so people won't be able to see the buttons again. So if anyone wants to take on this, we will work on this on Wednesday, most likely. And the idea is to just have a draft, and then we will all make it cohesive on the session. So yeah, I don't know. Whoever feels, yeah. Go ahead, Edie.
Eduardo, can you this isn't exactly about the content here, but it's just stepping back. I must confess that I'm feeling a little bit confused in terms of exactly what we've agreed on as the flow. Could you just do kind of an overview of what you see the actual flow being?
Sure, yeah. I will share my screen with the Discord fake server. It will be the easier one. So, can you see my screen? Yeah. So, basically, thank you. So basically, you arrive here. You do the verification. I'm not gonna do the verification again, but you do the verification, right? So you arrive here, and then it will drop you to this channel, which is your guide, right? So basically, once you click on this, it will prompt text. There you go. So you can see more information. So this is the guide. And then plus on top of this, you will receive a message that will ask you 2 questions or 3 questions that we still have to decide. That will ask you how do you get here? What is your time zone? All this stuff. So basically what we agree is on verification. After the verification is completed, you end up here in this guide. Plus you also get a message privately. I don't know if that's correct for you. I don't know if I explained myself correctly. Does anyone has any questions regarding this process? It's okay, bye baby, am I correct? Bye baby is not here. So anyways, this is a little bit of what we agree on. So now it's about filling the content, basically, of these buttons that you saw. Because we already have a kind of a structure, we will go with that and we will improve it with iterations along the way. But this is the first test of the 3 steps kind of thing. So we will see how that goes.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize that in the fake server, that guide is recorded. So yeah. That's cool. And we can actually play around with that.
Exactly. The idea is on Wednesday, it's to fill the content of this fake server and see how it works, see the sizes, play around, and came with a final draft of the content of this. And we will have the first phase of this journey kind of end. Yes, LB.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly what I was imagining. I couldn't get past the verification because the bot was never quite online to get to that your guide part. So thank you for showing that.
Yeah,
I think I was just imagining that like the survey would happen right in there, and then it would like give you the different, but like having a whole like list to select from. That's awesome. So that your guide channel, like, is it unique to every newcomer? Like, it's not going to show content from other newcomers? Cool. That's exactly what I was like envisioning. How funny. Yeah, I guess then the only thing I had to say about that in terms of content is the newcomer personas. I can't remember if I did that before or after our last meeting.
Can you drop the link so people can see it? I don't remember.
I will do that in just a second in the Communitas chat. But the newcomer personas are basically like, what are the different types of newcomers that show up in our space? And I made a little doc, which I'll link in just a second. It kind of goes through like the ones that we've identified so far, like what they're here for, what their biggest challenge is, and like what we can do to try and help them pass that challenge. I think that all of that information would be super useful for creating the sections of content. The different like buttons, each one is maybe like a different newcomer persona, and kind of click and be like, oh yeah, I am looking to submit a proposal, or I am looking to learn more, or I am looking to, be a contributor. Yeah, that's all I wanted to bring up.
Nice. So this will be a working session. Everyone is welcome. If someone sends it privately, I will create an issue on GitHub to assign that part of the content creation part, and then we can take it from there. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, if it's like too long, we can just fix it up. We just try to. I think it's a good exercise for a lot of you guys, since we have this. Everyone has a different idea of the TEC, and if we dive into this content creation, we can get more familiar with what eventually will be given to welcomers, guides, or body system. So it's a way to get familiar also with the content. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say it's this Wednesday at 5 p.m. CET?
Yes.
I just don't see it on the calendar.
Because I think MS didn't put it on the talking engineer, he put it on his private calendar, I think.
Do you want to?
I can move it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
One thing that I'd like to point attention to is the gift book and like our wiki in general. I think that isn't linked as much as it should be, and maybe we can clean that up in future. Since we'll be handling onboarding, we can like sort the data out, because I saw some outdated data over there, and maybe we can use that resource more. Because I haven't seen it linked very much. Whenever like, someone joins, I don't think we link them to the handbook in most cases. I'm not sure if we do that, but I haven't seen it.
Thank you, Guy. Quick question. Now that you have seen the process, can you update the Miro board LB on the process, since you already have you can see it now? So we will have the clean version by Wednesday of how the process is, and we can share it. So that's it on onboarding journey. I don't know if anyone else have any question regarding the onboarding journey before we continue with the agenda. 5, 4, 3, 2. Alrighty. So we move to something that actually happened, which is how do we handle feedback? I brought this to transparency today. LB mentioned it. If you go to the channel feedback on our Discord, she dropped a message there regarding how do we handle the double messaging, or how annoying it could be the messaging sometimes. So rather than just when we talk in transparency, LB was to we had this small discussion about how to approach feedback and who has to take care of the feedback, because that's a real question, like who sort of does that. And with transparency, we talk about acknowledgement, like acknowledge the feedback and try to be proactive about it. In this case, what we seek was to give you a reasoning of why it's happening and how we can improve it. It won't be all the cases, but I think that down the line, we will have a lot of feedback on the sense of, for example, people using the dashboard and so on. So it will be nice to be paying attention to the feedback channel and to be able to connect the person with who has information. just for everyone awareness. I don't know if anyone else have any other idea of how to handle feedback. Libby, you're in Softcov. I don't know if you think any other way that we can sort of manage this process.
It's a bit confusing to me. What type of feedback? Is it any feedback in general for processes, for people, for?
Yeah, that's a question, because the feedback, we are open their feedback for everything. We won't be able to answer all the feedback that comes there, but we should at least acknowledge it. But I don't know, as a cultural practice, what could be the ideal practice to do with this?
Yeah, my first feeling when seeing the chat, I'm looking at it now. I think maybe it would be good to have like a little explanation of what this could be used for. Like give a few options. Like it could be used for, I don't know, even in the personal feedback that we discussed a little bit on SoftGov, people had different reactions to it, and Juan was also speaking about feeling like it's a vulnerable thing to share in public, and that maybe if it's a personal feedback, it should be like private, that you approach the person, and that document that we were using could be one way of approaching it, but there can be other ways too. And then feedback for processes and stuff, I think that's already like advice process, right?
Yeah.
Can I jump in for a minute? We're talking about the feedback channel on our Discord, right?
Correct.
I mean, I'm seeing like one feedback every month, every other month. My feeling is that we just respond to the feedback in the channel, but it doesn't seem as if we're being inundated. We have one from October, one from September, one from July, one from March. I just feel like it's a nice place that if somebody wants to say something and they don't know where to put it, it's sort of like feedback is a nice place to drop it. Is it something that seems confusing? What is the problem we're addressing?
How do we handle feedback? It's a very simple question.
So this is, I mean, if we're looking at it now, LBS shared their feedback, Zeptimus responded, and V proposed a solution. It seems as if it worked really well. Is that not your observation as well?
Yes, but the fact that came after bringing to attention to transparency. So the question was like, is transparency taking care of the feedback, or is like everyone who sees it can acknowledge it and just
Oh, I see. So you're saying it should be on guides radar. Yeah, I think so. What I was thinking about that newcomer role, which is the guide role, I really love it a lot, and I think it's true. It's a lot for you alone, Eduardo. But like, if there was 3 or 4 people that were just on our Discord, they saw something on help, they saw something on feedback, they knew who to call in. I feel like that's kind of that role to make sure that there's places, but these that somebody's checking to see and to respond. You did exactly the right thing. You brought it to transparency, and transparency addressed it. But it doesn't seem like we're getting overrun with stuff. It just seems like perhaps we need more than one person who's really, taking the lead on responding to a bunch of this stuff. Maybe 2 or 3 people that could also help out would be, yeah. Because it seemed like it worked really nice, actually.
Yeah, and I think we can, down the lane, I think there will be feedback regarding things that bugs. And when other people saw bugs on the dashboard back in the day, or in the Common Stack membership page, this kind of things that happens, and people get lost because they don't know where to ask this. And I think the idea of Libby, of having a description of the channel could be ideal, because I have seen in the past days a lot of people asking the things in the wrong channels. So I think we need I think this is something to add to the new Discord, is to add a small description for this channel. Even if it's obvious, it seems it's not so obvious for a lot of people. I saw someone asking that on in coffee, and other people asking things on general. Like, people were not using, for example, the help. So there is this kind of things that probably just a small description of the channel to improve how people interact in a more clear way. So we don't miss things and people asking for questions. Briefly, welcome FBA to the call. You are in the Communitas working group call, and we are going through the items in the agenda that you see on the screen. If you want to add any point or if you want to ask any question, feel free to participate at any moment. Yes, bye. You want to say something? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Thank you. So, I think there was some point about keeping this feedback private or something. So maybe we could have some sort of opt-in where you can anonymize your feedback or something like that. Isn't something that's necessary right now. Maybe sometime in the future, people might want to anonymize their feedback or something like that. So that can be done. Not right now, but sometime in the future that can be done.
Thank you, Val.
Yeah, I think that would, like right now, I don't know, I'm struggling a little bit to understand the purpose of having one more channel that seems to be quite general. Like why wouldn't people use like orientation for asking questions or general? And kind of like what you were saying too, Eduardo, that people ask all over, because I think the more places there is to ask, the more it will be spread, and then our attention needs to get thinner into multiple chats. But maybe I'm missing some. I don't know. I don't understand the purpose of it.
All right. Yes, Elby.
Yeah, it can help to both like use channel descriptions and to like really distill down your channels depending on the kind of things you want to be talking about and receiving. So I will say that it was nice to have that feedback channel. Like when I thought about the praise and being like, oh, this is kind of annoying. How do I like change this? It was really, really clear to me that I could just go to the feedback channel. Like I wouldn't have thought of going to orientation to be like, hey, this thing, it's kind of annoying, whatever.
Okay, I see. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so it is more focused like feedback to just not to people, to everything else, like to processes, to how things are happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. I never would have thought to give feedback on a person there. That would have felt like way too intense for me.
Yeah,
it does bring up like a really. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to jump in too, because I think it's different than feedback, peer-to-peer feedback that we were discussing in the SoftCov. It's more like feedback on the community or the Discord server or something like that, processes that we're doing. And I want to say, you guys mentioned a description for the channels. Can somebody show me that or tell me what that looks like? I haven't seen it. Is it like you roll over and there's a... Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's unfortunately in Discord, it's kind of hard to see even when one exists. If you go to a new channel, or if you go to a channel, they're like up at the very top, like here at the Your Guide, you see there's the channel name at the top, Your Guide, # Your Guide, even further up than where the cursor is. Like all the way at the very, very top. There's that kind of like blank space between # Your Guide and the like notifications, pinned messages, friends and stuff like that. If you were to click on that banner at the very top, then if there was a description there, it would open into a pop-up and say the description.
On a very active channel, those are lost forever, right?
No, they always stay at the top. It's not the like te damos. It's up at the very, very top.
But if I was on general, I would just have to scroll all the way to the top. Is there a way for me to get to that?
No. Here, let me show you on my screen.
Okay.
If you go to the comments, you'll see.
Like if you go to a super active channel.
To governance, let's say.
Okay.
See up here at the very top where it says governance?
Yes, I do.
and there's this little description here.
Oh, yeah.
You can click on it. It says, "Oh, space to talk about collective decision making."
That's great. That's
It can be
fantastic.
really hard to see.
I love
because
it.
It's just the same color as everything else, but it can be useful if you know to find it there.
That's super fantastic. I totally 100% agree. We should do that.
And it's very simple. Just give.
So I've been thinking though that I think we definitely need to do that. This is best practice for all the channels. That's one of the things that's in the document. I think that the same thing, Discord is not that good at stuff like that. Also, like pinned messages, horrible. Right? It's super hard to find. So one thing that just came to mind is maybe what we do is there's just like in orientation, we have just an overview of the channels. Just a very simple thing that's just like, each channel and then just like one or two sentences describes what it's for, what it's not for. Because I do think it's probably going to get lost in that. It's just not that easy to see that. That's one of my.
We definitely did something like that at SourceCred. And one of the problems I found with that is that then you really need to make sure that you go back in and you change it anytime anything changes. And like you've got to have a process for that and make sure that somebody's available for that. It might be a little bit more dynamic to teach people how to look for certain things in Discord. And just say like, hey, here's your little I don't know how to use Discord. Let's do a little Discord tour, and you could even just do a little screen capture video with somebody talking about it. And then anytime the channel description changes or a channel gets taken away or added, people don't need to change a list. Although I personally really like having lists of things like that and resources like that, but it's a lot of extra work.
Are you gonna say something, or you were not? I thought you. No? Okay. Sorry. So, following with the agenda, just to bring a small update on the orientation data this week. As every week, we're here. So the orientation data this week, we had around 13 people filling the survey this week. You can see the pattern repeating itself of learn and participate. Most of the people answer learn and participate. So there is a clear sign of a clear education kind of path. Even I had a sync on Friday with John S, and he expressed I would love to have steps of how to make a DAO, or the steps of what makes a DAO, just this brief list of things, these 20 things of how do I make a DAO, or what are the nodes, the big nodes of the token, or just small list, educational kind of content. And I felt like people are missing out for educational content. It's not that we are going to create it. I'm just bringing this out to the universe for anyone else who want to give feedback on that. And then basically we had also a few more people, one data scientist, is full node, and people coming from the full node event. We have 3 or 4 developers coming out. There also came people from Bershine, which I had to Google it. It seems to be a Berlin place, so I guess it comes from the Berlin event. That was the name of the place, maybe. I have no clue. And then I basically engaged with the people who came from the One Hive and Daoist Discord. I engaged with the guy from Daoist just to ask him why we were mentioned in the Daoist Discord, just to have an idea, just to engage with him. So that's a little bit of the summary of this. There is this exception of people, Watachi and Nathaniel. Watachi, because he already engaged before we welcome him, so he already got into it. And then Nathaniel in main, because he seems to be a VC. So I signaled this to Tam to take care of a personal welcome. I don't know how to handle these cases of people who are a different profile, who are more specific, and we could take some kind of interesting approach. The same way if someone comes directly and joins and says, oh, I want to help developing, that person also should probably send him to YGG directly right away, or send him right away to Griff, because they can provide us support. So these kind of special people probably are needed to be pointed out right away, because they already know there's a bunch of people gained by Griff because of X reason. So these people are like, okay, you just go to this call. This is your path, because you already put it there very clear what you want to do. So this is a little bit of the summary of this week of the orientation data. I don't know if anyone else have any question. Please. 5, 4, 3, 2.
I just want to say how cool this is. This is really awesome to see all of this data like this.
Yeah, I so agree. I love that. It's, that survey, I had some skepticism about it, but now it's like, it's great just to even have this like tiny little insight about people. I think a really interesting thing to do would be to prepare for new guides, is sort of to write down your process so that we could do some training. And I think a lot of this will be fleshed out. For example, I like the idea of you reached out to me in my DMs, and I was like, okay, that's really cool, but let's just, keep the person through the process. But I thought, maybe it's, let me just throw this idea out, and you guys tell me if you think this is an invasion of privacy in some way. Maybe it'd be interesting to get that dynamic going on the orientation server. Like, hey, you're interested in the, user, you're interested in this. Tamara's the steward who might really you might want to sync up with Tamara. Or, oh, you have background, you're a developer and you want to contribute. I saw that there was some developer who was like, I want to get Devin, and it was like, maybe on orientation you could be like, welcome to the TEC. You're ready to dev. Like right now, here's TEC Labs, here's YGG, here's params, so just get the conversation happening in orientation rather than in people's DMs, because it can be, we're all like going 180 miles an hour. I don't want that those people might get lost through the cracks, whereas on the orientation channel somebody will come and pick it up. What do you think of that?
So what I have been doing is trying out different ways to see which one works better. So, and depending on how private they got, I mention it or not. Sometimes some information I feel like they explain the full curriculum, and this full curriculum, it's hard. And the same for DVC. I felt that some people fill the survey in a more professional, direct to the point, and some people are more generic. So this is something I would love to sort of try out different approaches to see which one sort of matches better profiles and so on. Yes, Libby.
Yeah, I had 2 ideas so the call finally happened after 10 minutes. I sent her an email and then she jumped in and it was great. 2 things that I kept the most was, so the way you schedule this call is, first you fill up a form if you want to become a contributor from Gitcoin. And then if you're accepted, they have a selection process. And then if you're accepted, you get to this page where there's a lot of information about Gitcoin, and then you can schedule a call with a person that belongs to this work streams. So there is, I think they have 5 work streams or something like that. And then I booked a call with someone from the public goods work stream. And then she was telling me what are the things that can be done in that work stream, and they have a few roles under each thing. And then the first step for the public good work stream was kind of coming to engaging with the library flow. That is, they have calls and people can host these calls. You're encouraged to post some materials about public goods, to engage in discussions about public goods. So it's all broad to the term. And that made me think we don't have nothing like that for token engineering. And that would be so amazing to have one channel and one working group even that is just a study group of token engineering. And people can share all types of materials, of articles, of things they're writing, and then that would enhance the the guest blog posts that we have, and that could like streamline someone to comms, or if there's an engineer there, streamline to labs, and that could create like a good like bubbling place for token engineering education and all of the people that are joining, thinking of like being educated and having like a more educated community in general, and more like exciting for token engineers also to join and participate in these discussions. And anyways, that can turn into something like expand as much as we want. But then you made me think, like, should we add to this form something like what stream, like what working group do you feel more drawn towards, or do you want to stay in the general, or I don't know. And then maybe if there is enough people for each working group, the leads of the working groups could have calls to onboard the people into one working group and not into like the whole TC.
So this was very similar to Anne-Marie's ideas at the beginning of the pods. This idea of study groups that are aligned based on response of people in the survey. So basically, people responded. We had 4 people in the week responding, learn, and participate. Then we could match these 4 people in a working group, in a pod. She called it the pods. And in this pod, there will be someone taking care of this guidance process or this educational process for these 4 people. This idea is very exciting to explore. I think by itself, the data says people want to learn things. We should be able to to be nice to respond to this. It could be Token Academy. It could be there could be many possibilities of how we can handle this, but it would be nice to bring this awareness that this is a need for the community to comprehend, at least. Yes, BFA, you want to say something?
Yeah, just to, in addition to what Livian said concerning about the working stream in Bitcoin DAO, when she was talking about how the work stream operates, especially the public goods. Yeah, just because I contribute in Bitcoin DAO from FDD and MMM. A little bit of the public goods as well. I work kind of across all the streams in the Bitcoin DAO. So I have an understanding and overview about it operates from onboarding to operation to most of how things work there. Yeah, I think Livre did justice to that in explaining it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think we should bring a little more of this process. So FBA and I keep pronouncing it wrong. BFA and Livy, we can do something about it. I think down the lane. We can sync up on that. We are on the top of the hour. The last item of the agenda is please praise everyone's work. Please praise LPS. Please praise Gideon. Not everyone here comes to the community call. So please go ahead, take 5 minutes after this call and praise everyone who joined this call or everyone that you see did work on the Communitas working group. Just to end, at least for me, the day, because it's 9 p.m. here, to end the day with a nice praise session for everyone who contributed this week. And hopefully we can keep working more a little bit on this. So I added to the calendar on Wednesday the item for the workshop, 5 p.m. CET, for everyone who wants to join. If you want to work async and add to the document, please add your name to the document or to the agenda or in Communitas working group if you don't have access to the document. And thank you so much for joining this call. Look forward for our next meeting next Monday. Take care, everyone.
Sorry, how do I have access to the Google Docs?
Say what? Sorry?
Yeah, how do I have access to the Google Docs, please? The Google Doc.
It's in the. It's also in the Communitas, right?
Okay.
Yes. If you have trouble finding it, let me know privately or in the working group text channel, and I will send it to you.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Everyone.
Facilitation.
Bye.
Yeah.